80 years ago today, the 688 Postal Battalion left the US bound for Glasgow. In this video, I am so excited to tell you the story of the first and only all-black, all-female unit sent overseas in World War II. During World War II, African Americans could join the military, but they were discriminated against and often given the worst jobs because racism. And African American women also had sexism to contend with when it came to serving their country. Despite this, there were 6,000 black women serving in uniform by the end of the war. For many years, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, an advisor to President Roosevelt, had been working with the First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt to advocate for a meaningful role for black women in the war effort. So they set up the 688 Postal Squadron. Their motto was no mail, low morale, and it was their job to ensure that letters and parcels would be correctly delivered to the troops. And if you're thinking, that doesn't sound like too difficult a job, just hold that thought for a moment. Major Charity Adams was the first African American woman to become an officer in the Women's Army Corps, so she was naturally the first choice to lead the battalion of 855 women. They were sent to Fort Oglethorpe in Georgia in the summer of 1944 to train for overseas deployment. Major Adams said, "Our preparation was intense. Gas mask drills, obstacle course, classroom training, clothes packing exercises, physical examinations and close order drill." And they were under so much more scrutiny than others because of, well, our old friends' racism and sexism. They boarded the SS Ile de France on the 3rd of February 1945, bound for Glasgow. The trip took 10 days, arriving on the 11th or 12th of February. It had been a rough journey. They had been attacked by German U-boats and thankfully survived. Many of them were suffering from horrible seasickness. Scotland welcomed them with bagpipes, which is the worst instrument I would want to hear in that moment. We love you, Scotland, but let it go. From there, they travelled to their base in Birmingham by train, where they were shown into a warehouse that was full, floor to ceiling, with 17 million pieces of undelivered mail, and the trucks just kept coming with more. These letters were addressed so badly, they basically said, "John, Europe." Some of them would just have nicknames written on them. Like, you saw how hard it was finding Private Ryan, and they had his full name and they knew what company he was in. The higher-ups had estimated that it would take them at least 6 months to clear this backlog. The 688 did it in 3. They organised themselves into 3 8-hour shifts, meaning that they were working 24/7. Each shift cleared 65,000 pieces of mail. At one point, a white general turned up asking to see the 688 march. When Major Adams said that they weren't immediately ready to do so because they were doing their job, the general said that he was going to send a white first lieutenant down to show you how to run things, as though this enormous backlog hadn't happened under his watch. She replied, "Over my dead body, sir." I love it. Years later, she recalled that there are times when the human mind must respond like a computer. That statement seemed like a scream. Following their enormous success in Birmingham, they were sent to Rouen in France in May 1945 to continue their work. It was here that unfortunately on the 8th of July, the 688 suffered their only casualties. Dolores Brown, Mary Bankston and Mary Barlow were killed in a jeep accident. The 688 returned home in March 1946, having frankly smashed it, but it wasn't until recent years that they received recognition because, as we've said, racism and sexism. Netflix has recently released a film about them, and I am so glad that these incredible women are finally getting some recognition and their stories heard. Thank you so much for watching. Why not subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.